Hello, guys, and welcome to our long overdue historic airliner stream with full flap sim. That was difficult to get set up. I forgot how long the sim takes to load, so sorry for the late start, guys. But um, making up for it, here we are in a beautiful Northwest Airlines DC-3, taking off out of Seattle for a real-world 1940s route down to Portland, Oregon. So um, we're using the Duckworks mod today, as well as a couple mods from Captain Canada, I believe, um, to make the DC-3 more realistic. But the end result is pretty good. Um, Not A2A level, but for a free airplane, it more than scratches the edge for the vintage airliner. So hopefully the volumes and everything are good. Let me know. Um, but we'll get this thing kicked off. AJ, welcome, man. You're in the office trying to get back, get some work done. Awesome. Zippy, yeah. So the intro music came from a um, a Warbird video that I had as a kid that I watched over and over, and I actually haven't been able to find a copy of that music. So hopefully I don't get a copyright strike. But I thought that it fit with the kind of feel for today's stream. So um, we'll figure it out. But yeah, not from a Disney movie. It's actually from a P40 checkout video that a guy by the name of Jeff Ethel put together. So, great shirt, Iveo Premium. Not today, man. I've got some issues with my internet lately. That is, so if I try to stream Play 2020, use VATSIM, and run through my VPN, which I need in order to use VATSIM or Aveo Premium, because they banned me by IP address, then the stream slows down and I can't get anything done. So we're doing this all on our own because Aveo Premium sucks. Um, Northwest, Best West, yeah, man. I had the iconic Eastern Airlines DC-3 livery that that I was going to use, but the with the I was looking for timetables so that we could fly an actual flight, and and this was the flight that was, it was short enough, it was scenic, and I thought we could use this. So Northwest livery it is. Um, so here we go. The flight today that we're taking is Seattle to Portland via Ellensburg and Yakima. We should be flying up the Columbia River Gorge, so um, should be a pretty good time. We're taking off at a Boeing Field in Seattle, which was the primary airport for Seattle back in this time. So SeaTac wasn't built yet, and Boeing Field was the primary airport. It is modern day scenery, so you can see the Boeing building, the Museum of Flight, that kind of stuff with the Connie out front. But but yeah, so here we go. There is a organization that actually puts out period correct airports for Flight Sim 2020, and they have the entire East Coast with period correct airports, nav aids, etc. But it is a paid mod, and I didn't know how this stream was going to be received. So if you guys like this kind of content, we can absolutely pick up the historic pack and do some period correct flying into airports as they were in the 1930s and 40s. So Diabetic Lad, what mods are on it beyond the Duckworks? So the Duckworks, the livery, obviously, and then we have an engine start mod that allows us to start the engines at um, idle cutoff on the mixtures, because when you start a fuel injected radial this big, you start it with the mixtures at idle cutoff, and the Duckworks didn't have that quite right, but somebody modded it so that you can start with the engines at idle cutoff and run them on the primers, which is correct. So I installed that mod. And then that same person has a mod to the tail wheel. The Duckworks and the default Flight Sim setup have the tail wheel steerable through the rudder pedals, which is not how the DC-3 functioned. It had either a fully castering tail wheel. Um, it had a fully castering tail wheel that could be locked in the trail position, and so this mod simulates that. So taxiing is a little bit of a challenge, um, as it was back then. Um, so there it is. Turk, welcome, man. I know a guy who owns a DC-3 and a P-51. Oh man, to be so lucky, dude. I'm in the wrong profession. But all right, so let's jump in. So we'll hop into the cockpit here, and if we look at the modeling, I don't know if the modeling on this is default, but it's pretty good. Um, I mean, I've been in a couple of DC-3 cockpits, and this is pretty much what they look like. Um, got some wear and tear. The window's open, so we'll open all the windows here. The sounds on this airplane are fantastic. So I'm going to boost the sounds up for us so that we can take a listen to the old radials purring away. But if it gets a little bit too much of a pain, just let me know and I'll adjust the audio levels. So anyway, a little bit of cockpit familiarization. So we can see that jumping into a World War II era cockpit, a lot more manual systems, even compared to a 737, and just at the same time, it's very complex mechanically, and it's not very complex from an avionics standpoint. So um, anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we'll do as we jump into the airplane here is we'll check the hydraulic system quantity. There's just a little floating ball inside the hide system, and it says fill to this level with the landing gear up or landing gear down, flaps up, and the hydraulic pressure at 0. So over here we've got 0 hide pressure, the landing gear is down, the flaps are up, and the hide quantity indicator looks correct. So that's a good start. We'll come down to the open the hide pressure system, and we're going to use a manual hand pump to pump up the hydraulic pressure. So this actually works, and you can see the needle moving up there behind the co-pilot's yoke because we pumped the hydraulic hand pump here. So we're going to pump this up to about into the green arc, about 1,000 psi, maybe a little bit less, and we'll get that all charged up. And then once it's charged, we'll close the hydraulic gauge or the hydraulic system and trap that pressure in the lines. Okay, so the hydraulic system is charged up to the bottom of the green arc, about 600 psi there, so we can set the park and brake, which is down here under the throttle quadrant. So we will get that set, which it is, and then we can apply electrical power. Water, what's up, man? Welcome. So we're going to come up here and we're going to deploy the battery cart, which extends from underneath the cockpit there and hooks up to ground power. And then we're going to put battery cart power on the aircraft. Okay, so it's all squared away there. Okay, so now we can do the flow, the start flow. So the battery switch is going to stay on battery cart. The avionics master will be off. We can turn the beacon light on, and I've got a whole bunch of stuff bound on my Honeycomb Bravo, so I got to figure out which one is the beacon switch. There we go. The landing gear warning horn can stay on. The battery cart's deployed. We've got the lights that are off right now. Landing lights can stay off. Position lights can come on as well. Okay. All the anti-ice can stay off. Yeah, we got the PTU barking in the background. So, as a matter of fact, let me open the door. That's why he's barking here. All right. Then we'll come over here. The magnetos, we have the left and right magnetos and a master ignition system. So right now it's off, which is where we want it for a cold and dark start. The radios and the transponder, those are all off. We're using the classic avionics today. Modern radios, Collins radios, but this is where they would have been in the actual DC-3. The voltmeter is showing 30 volts on the ground power, a little high, but we've got the starter switches, those are off. The boost pumps, those are off as well. The generators are off. Cockpit lighting is off. And then the right feather button there is pulled out. So that looks good. Water, I did ring the barricade. Yep. So we're on Wi-Fi, or not Wi-Fi. We're on wired internet, so that shouldn't be a problem today. And I turned off the VPN, so we're good to go. All right, we'll get the yoke out of the way. Just check all the instruments. We'll hit the Magic Barrier ref key to set field elevation. So 2992, that looks good. Checking the clock, make sure that's wound. When you're starting a radial, you want to note on the manifold pressure gauge what the field barometric pressure is. So In this case, 30 inches. That checks about correct there, so we'll note that for our run-up. The manifold pressure gauge selector should be on normal instrument to engine. So what you can do here is you can run the left engine to the left needle and the right engine to the right needle. You can bleed the instrument, or you can select basically for the needles to indicate the opposite engine. If you, for example, have a failure in one of the manifold pressure lines and you need to basically use one needle to check both engines, you can do it with this switch. The oil pressure lights are right here. They should be on. Oil pressure is 0. This is a very important instrument in a radial engine. The fuel pressure for today's flight, we'll check the weight and balance here in a second, but we can check our fuel. That's about half. That should be plenty for today's flight. And we'll actually take full mains and empty aux tanks. And then just checking to make sure all the other instruments here look like they are reading what we should expect them to. Landing gear is down. The hide pressure looks like it's bled off, but that's fine. We already got the brakes set. Cowl flaps are closed. And then coming down here, we've got the mixtures in idle cutoff. The throttles are at idle, and the props are up all the way. Diabetic glide, yep. This yellow orange light right here hides the yoke. I'll probably hide that later, but for now I'm trying to keep it a little realistic. These are the blower controls, so they control high and low blower on the engines. So we'll take off of them in low blower, and then if we get up to an altitude where we need more manifold pressure, we can shift them into high blower. But we should be staying pretty low today, so shouldn't be a problem. Blackbird, morning dude, a little bit different. Jumping in the old DC-3 today, so thanks for joining us. All right, for the fuel selector, the left engine fuel selector is here on the captain side, so we'll select that to left main. And the right engine fuel selector is a mirror image on the right side, and we'll select that to right main. These are the carb heats, so we have the carb air temp gauge right here that shows the carburetor air temp. And when we reduce power, we're going to want to apply carburetor air, and then we can lock the levers with the other lever there. So make sure those are full cold for now. With at least the radials I've flown, the GA pistons as well, when the carb air isn't hot, it's unfiltered. So we want to minimize the use of carb heat on the ground and use it really only to the absolute minimum practical on the ground. And then in flight, you can use it as required to keep the carb temps hopefully in the green, at least in the yellow. And then as soon as you land on the ground, you want to get those back to cold so that you can filter all the air going into the engine and not suck up a bunch of debris. And then the final part of the console is the DC-3 has a bunch of controls down here that are out of sight. Cockpit ergonomics was not a thing back then. They hadn't quite figured it out. So this is the tail wheel lock. So aft, the tail wheel will swivel. And then forward, the tail wheel will be in the locked position straight aft. So we'll lock it for now, and then we'll unlock it for taxi, and then put it back in. This handle is critical. In any airplane with a locking tail wheel, the tail wheel must be locked prior to takeoff and landing, or you could absolutely crash the airplane. So, and the Duckworks models this. This thing is a bear if you forget to lock the tail wheel. So. Throttle friction, set that. That's actually pretty important in a radial engine airplane. The T6 is the same way because you're moving so many other levers. In this case, a throttle prop, a mixture. That if the throttle friction is set too low and you let go of the throttles to adjust the mixture and the throttles come back, you could potentially have your hands full enough that you can't get back to the throttles in time. So, or you could set some damaging power settings. So it's actually important to make sure that the throttle friction is set appropriately. Trims. We've got rudder trim over here on this knob, aileron trim on this knob. Those are set to neutral. Parking brake is set. The autopilot emergency setting is on there in case we need emergency power to the autopilot, and the fuel crossfeed is off. Finally, we can come down here and lift the armrest out of the way. This is the landing gear handle. I've got it bound to my honeycomb, but that's where you'd raise the gear. The fire extinguisher controls are located under this hatch in the floor, so we have a fire bottle, and then we can choose which engine that we want to direct the fire extinguisher to, and that's just it's like it's a valve off a garden hose basically. Airplanes were pretty simple back in the 30s. We discussed the manual hydraulic pump handle, and then we've got the flap handle here, and then this is the engine hydraulic pump selector. So we want to ensure that that is off for takeoff and landing, and then to operate the gyro pilot, we'll actually have to put that into the forward position. So we'll get that set um, before using the autopilot. So for today's flight, Steve Hayner, what's up, man? We are taking off out of Seattle. We'll do kind of a scenic left-hand turn at a Boeing field up the Seattle skyline, and then we'll proceed to Ellensburg, over the Cascade Mountains, then south to Yakima, down to the Dalles, and then into Portland up the Columbia River Gorge. So that's the plan for today. I wanted to integrate this so that you can see the map. And stuff like that, but I just ran out of time this morning. So for today's stream, I've got it on SkyVector in a separate window that you won't be able to see. But again, if you guys like this content, then we'll do it again in the future, because I'm actually really enjoying the Duckworks DC-3. So okay, pre-flight checks complete. We can get ready to start. So we start the right engine first. We're on ground power, so we'll take the cowl flaps for both engines and we'll open them. Get both the cowl flaps open. The parking brake is set. We'll close the doors. All right, the doors are closed. The chocks are set. We've got a fire guard left and right. And we'll go ahead and start the right engine. So we want to make sure that the mixtures are at idle cutoff, which they are. And we'll get the throttle cracked about an inch. Start in the right. And then we'll come up here, make sure that the mag's ignition is on by pressing it in. And then we're going to energize the right start. This is an inertia starter, so it's a big flywheel that engages a clutch. So by moving this switch to energize, you spin up the flywheel for between 10 and 30 seconds. Then we'll hit mesh, which will engage that flywheel through the clutch to the engine. And then we're going to count 10 blades. So the reason that we do that is a big problem with radial engines is, as you can see, the cylinders are arranged in a circle to include cylinders at the bottom, right? And due to the effects of gravity after engine shutdown, even though it's a dry sump engine, residual oil in the crankcase can bleed down into the valves and cylinders of the bottom on the bottom of the engine. And if you have oil pooled in a cylinder and the engine begins its compression stroke and the piston runs into oil instead of air, oil is obviously uncompressible, then you can actually bend the piston rod. It's called hydraulic lock, and it's very, very damaging to radial engines. So on the smaller radials, like on a Stearman or a T6, stuff like that, then you just pull the engine through by hand, and you've probably seen that, guys taking the prop blades and pulling them through by hand prior to start. On a bigger engine like the Wright 1820 or Pratt & Whitney 1830s that are on the DC-3, you don't want to do that because there's a gearbox here, and it's actually the gearbox actually gears it such that it's easy enough that you can still bend a rod just by pulling the prop through. And so the way that we motor the engine here to check for hydraulic lock is by counting blades before turning the mags on. And then that way, if the engine encounters hydraulic lock, the starter clutch will actually give out and hopefully stop the engine from rotating prior to creating any damage. So that's the system. And actually, it reminds me, before we start, we need to get all the passengers loaded. All right, so we're going to take full main tanks. The thing burns about 90 gallons an hour, so this will be plenty of gas. We're going to empty out the aux tanks. We'll just have left and right main tanks. We got a pilot and the co-pilot, and let's see. So 3 seats, we'll say people weigh about 200 pounds. That's the 1950s, so people weighed 450 pounds for 3 folks. So we'll go 450, 450, 450, 450. 300 and 150. All right, so we got a full boat, 2 seats back here. That's a lot, and we'll put 500 pounds, 550 pounds in the front, and 550 in the back. All right, so we got a fairly full boat and 400 gallons of gas on board, so that should be just plenty. AJ, clutch, yeah, Bendix spring, centrifugal drive. Dude, that is way beyond my level of systems knowledge, but if you're familiar with this system, I'd actually love to hear about it because I'm kind of a nerd for this kind of stuff. So, cool. Yeah, everyone's in the back smoking a Lucky, so not too worried about it. All right, so the generators are reset and off, and we'll go ahead and energize the right starter. Okay, we'll start counting. Turn the battery on here. All right. Mesh 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Mags on. Start to prime. Start to prime. There it goes. And get the mixture up to auto rich. Did we get it in time? Nope. Looks like it's spinning down. Why are my sim sounds so quiet? Let me adjust the volume slider here. This is important because the sim sounds are some of the best parts on the thing. Can you guys hear the sounds okay? All right, we'll try this again. Right engine. Yep, the Magnetomaster is on. I think I just didn't get the mixture up in time. Mesh and prime. We've already spun the engine through, so we don't need to worry about. There it goes. All right, we got a good start. Oil pressure is coming up. We need 40 psi in 30 seconds. Sounds are pretty low. Okay, let me do some looking because the sim sounds are all the way up. So let me figure it out here. Okay, how about now? Can you hear me now? Engine sounds are good. Mic volume is low. How about now? Check, check, check. Blackbird, thanks, man. Okay, so I'll keep the game steady. How about now? Can you hear me? Perfect. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you pairing with me there. We're just simulating a real radio where you can't hear the other guy talk. Okay, let's get the left engine going. So mixture is at idle cutoff. We'll bring the throttle up to about an inch. Perfect. Thanks, guys. All right, we'll get the left boost pump on, and we'll energize the left starter. Stop touching it. Happy to help the elderly. All right. Listen to this inertia starter go, guys. Drop a like in the chat for inertia starts. All right. Mesh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Mags on and priming. And priming. There it goes. It fires. Fire it up. Bring the mixture up. Can we catch it? All right. There we go. I think we caught it. Looks like it's starting. And look at this. Look how the RPMs are lagging, right, on the engine that we just started compared to the engine that we've already got running. That's super cool, and that's because the engine has to warm up, right? So we've had the number 2 engine running for a while, so the oil temp is up, the cylinder head temps are up, the oil temps are up, and the left engine is cold. So we can't do anything with these engines until the oil's at 40 degrees minimum. And so we'll just sit here and warm the airplane up, let the oil get all warmed up. So, all right, boost pumps can come off. Get the generators on, left and right. Stow the battery cart, and we'll get the avionics on. All right. So we are looking good. Go ahead and close the window here. Close the Navigraph charts. Close this window. All right, windows are closed. We can actually hear ourselves think. Alrighty, guys, look at that. We have successfully started our DC-3. All right, while the engines are warming up, I wonder, can I go in Navigraph charts and actually show you the sectional? Let's try that. Ooh, I think this might work. Let's go. Yeah, I want a low IFR. Okay, perfect. So, the first leg of our trip, we're going to take off out of Boeing up to the north. We'll kind of loop by Seattle, and then in the climb, we'll go up to, see, we're going east. We'll go to 11,500 feet, and we'll intercept the Seattle VOR of 116.8, and then we'll take that to Ellensburg. So, to do that, we need to come up and put 116.8 both nav radios. Swap those over. We're squawking VFR today for today's flight, so we can start taxiing out. Oh, and then the last thing we want to do is we need to set our course to 088, which is going to be the outbound course from Seattle. So 088, 090, close enough. All right, guys, enough talking. Let's get out of here. We'll disengage the parking brake and unlock the tail wheel, and we'll get out of here. Differential throttle is kind of a go-to of maneuvering this thing around, but you do end up hitting the brakes quite a bit. Alright, the taxi checklist, just making sure that the brakes work on both sides. We'll give a quick flight control check here. Flight controls check, good. Listen to the sounds. You can hear the brakes squeal. This is cool. So most tail draggers, you can't see anything forward on the ground, and you end up having to S-turn. The DC-3 is not that way. You can actually see over the nose pretty good in this airplane. Quite a bit of differential brake because the tail wheel kind of casters around. We must have some kind of tailwind or crosswind or something. Alright, so we're going to hold short of 3-2 left right here. I'm going to give myself a little bit of room to get ahead of steam going before I have to take that turn. So we're going to stop right here, yoke back when we get on the brakes. And we'll come down and we'll lock the tail wheel straight ahead and we'll set the parking brake. And now when you come to a stop, so I've never flown a DC-3, but I have flown a T-28 that has the same engine as some DC-3s, and it was critical in that airplane that when you came to a stop to throttle up to 1200 RPM for engine cooling to basically allow the props to flow enough air over the cylinders to keep them cool. So I'm just going to apply that to this airplane. Not sure if it's the same, but there we go. Okay. Next thing we have to do is the run-up, but we have to make sure that all the engine instruments are warmed up prior to doing the run-up. So manifold pressure and RPM, those are fine. Oil pressure is in the green. Fuel pressure looks like it's in the green. Here's the important one. The oil temp is in the green. It's above 40 on both engines, so that's good. Cylinder head temps are coming up. They're above 100, so we can do the run-up. This is the normal range for flight. And the carb temps are cold, which is to be expected. Hydraulic gauges are both in the green, so we can go ahead and do a run-up. So parking brake is set. The yoke comes all the way back in our lap, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go up to 1500 RPM, and we're going to cycle the props. All right, so there's 1500 RPM, and the point of the cycling the props is to ensure that warm oil makes it up into the dome. Otherwise, if the oil is cold, when you throttle up for takeoff, you can overspeed the propeller. So we'll do this one at a time, starting with the left engine. And again, I'm just going off T-28 procedures here because it was the same engine. So we're going to pull the prop back, and we're not waiting for a full cycle. We're just waiting for the propeller to move, and then we'll bring it back up. We'll do that 4 times. And then the 5th time will be a deep cycle where we bring the prop all the way back, and then and I'll explain it when we do it. So here comes 4. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and now the 5th cycle will be a deep cycle of the propeller where we're going to take the propeller all the way to the course pitch stop, let the engine stabilize roughly around 600 RPM or so, and now we'll advance it to full fine and make sure that it advances to 1500 RPM in 60 seconds. Alright, it did. So now we'll do the other propeller. So 1, 2. And then the point of these small cycles is just to slowly replace the oil that's in the propeller dome with warmed up low viscosity oil. Okay. Alright, and the last one will be a deep cycle down to full fine pitch, looking for about 600 RPM. Duckworks has modeled the Pratt & Whitney engine, so this, this may be a right procedure, but we'll do it just the same. All right, back up, hack the clock, 60 seconds. All right, and it looks like it's good. Okay, the next thing we'll do is the field barometric check, and that's where we'll check the mags. So the manifold pressure comes up to the field baro that we noted in the pre-flight of 30 inches. There we go. We should have about 2150 to 2200 RPM, which we just barely have 2150. And we'll now cycle the mags just like you would the GA piston. So left mag to left. Get about a 50 RPM drop. Back to both. Right mag, or right. Back to both. And about a 50 RPM drop. Right mag. Left. Both, right, both. Good drops. All right, now we'll check the carburetor heats. First the left side. Here a drop, there's the needle, back up. Let that stabilize, right engine, pull it back. Here a drop, push it back up. And the final thing that we're going to do is execute a feathering check. So we'll check the feathering buttons up here, and we should see an RPM drop. So on the left, load. Click the button out, unload. And on the right side, load, unload. Make sure the RPMs recover. Do a quick cycle on both props to ensure that we have prop control back on the prop governors. We do. Pull the power back. Alright. And verify that we have both engines back at idle. So a fairly in-depth run-up, but the nice thing about radial engines is the temperatures are fairly good. The oil temps are a little bit warm, but that'll come down as we start to climb. Cylinders are looking good. Everything else is good. It's running nice, so we'll bump it back up to 1,000 RPM. Notice that the oil pressure lights come on at idle. That's normal. All right. The final thing we have to do is get our gyro pilot caged. So we'll uncage the gyro. Get the gyro caged up here, so that looks about right, and that is all squared away. Okay, we can come down here, take the parking brake off, unlock the tail wheel, ready to go. Get going. So this is the problem if you don't have the tail wheel straight. You kind of get in a little bit of a bind. But there we go. That's why I wanted the straightaway there. And we'll be taking off with the flaps up. A little bit of differential power. All right, the mixtures are in auto rich, the props are full forward, the mags are verified on, hydraulics are set for takeoff, so we're squared away. Okay, takeoff power is going to be 46 inches and 2,700 RPM, so, or 2250 I believe actually in the RPM, so here it comes. We get lined up on the runway here, 3-2 left. Look at that compass vibrating. This is a great mod. Right, now for the crucial step. So bring the airplane to a stop. And then lock the tail wheel. Lock the tail wheel, lock the tail wheel. Okay, here we go. Off the brakes, power set. We're coming up to 46 inches. And aileron control is very important in a crosswind to DC-3, and I'll tell you why as we end up cruising. But here we go. Power's coming up. Everything in the green. Let's do it. There's 46 inches. Right rudder as the tail comes up for a key factor. And gyroscopic precession. Rotate about 90. Gear up. We'd like to accelerate to 110. The gear is up. And now we want to pull the props back to 40, manifold pressure back to 42 inches. And the props back to 2,500 RPM. How's that for a thrust reduction? Airbus guys can suck it. What happened to Seattle? We'll look over here instead. Alright. Start a right, left-hand turn. And now we need to direct to the Seattle VOR. Let's see, probably a heading of about there. We'll check it out here. And we're basically going to rotate the radio compass until CDI centers up. And then fly that heading. Coming up to 42 inches. Alright. Boost pumps should have been on for takeoff, so kill those at this point. Off we go. How's that? We're climbing through 2,500 feet. And we can get the gyro pilot on, so swap the hydraulic lever over. Turn the system on, which indicates with a light. We can adjust the climb rate here on this knob, which is about 700. 700 will do us. And then we'll turn heading hold on, but before I do that, I want to change the heading to match what we're actually doing. 11,500 feet, so we're approaching 4 right now. And our first heading is going to be 088 degrees away from Seattle. It's interesting because the knob turns the opposite direction you would think it does in this airplane. So you actually turn the knob to the right to start the aircraft in the left-hand turn. And as you can see, the manifold pressure is decreasing because we're continuing to climb. So it's about 1 inch per 1,000 feet. But you have to continue to push the throttles forward in order to keep climb power set at 42 inches. Engine instruments are all looking in the green. Well, temp's running a little hot. That's fine. And the carbs are actually kind of cold, and we're in icing conditions. So or in carb icing conditions rather. So we'll bump those up with the carb heat. Okay, now let's try and get our nav figured out. So we've got 116.8. We need 117.9. For Ellensburg. So there's 117.9. Swap that over. And now, let's see, we're going. We should be able to rotate this, and the CDI should come alive. Come way over to like east. Oh boy, Chad, we might be lost. I'm not sure why I'm not getting any reception on the nav radios. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so it looks like basically 090 is the course we want to fly, so we're pretty much spot on. Lost may have been a strong word. Alright, in the climb, we want the cowl flaps to trail. And just enjoy the peaceful luxury of 1930s air travel. Look at this, it's got a modeled virtual cabin and everything. And you didn't have to worry about the middle seat. Everybody got a window or an aisle. Okay, Gus says keep the fixed ADF pointed north, huh? Why do I keep the fixed ADF pointed north? You're talking to this guy, right? But I think this is like a course, oh yeah, maybe the nav radio range. Oh, maybe, hang on. No, it's definitely not off the radio. No, it looks like it's off the ADF card. Because this is my CDI. And here, let's see if I can. I'm not saying that's realistic, Gus, but I think the way that the mod is working is that this works as like a CDI course, I think. wide, so no fat people out. Yeah. Can you imagine, like, all of our complaints with air travel in the modern era? I mean, you know, you hear people talk about the luxury of air travel in the 40s, but everybody was that. Okay, onboard communication. Oh, right, so like magnetic bearing and all that, so I get that, but I don't think this is working that way. So this is the fixed card, because this is saying we're heading east, right? This is our DG, rather, our heading indicator. So we're heading east. And so I guess what you're saying, Mike, is so this card is actually pointed just to the left of east. So the station's actually slightly off to the left. Is that right? I was hoping for y'all would put the GPS up. Here we are. Okay, speed's starting to creep down, so what we're going to do is we're going to engage high floor. What we're going to do is we're going to hold power momentarily. Here's the line right here. Install. We're going to hold power back to 25 inches. We're going to do this for the time. So on the left engine, we're going to hold power back to 25 inches. And then engage high floor. And then we're going to throttle back up to 22 inches. See now that the left engine and high blower is producing a higher manifold pressure than the lower throttle setting because the supercharger is working. Okay. And we'll do the same with the right engine. Right from the back to 25 inches. Moving east and lower. Right the lower to the up. And then match the noise. Listen to this, you can even hear like the airframe bumping as we approach the stall because we got slow as we swap the superchargers. And the Duckworks guys have done fantastic. Crossing the Cascades at 110 knots. Alright, Gus, 10 to the left means 90 minus 10. Yeah. Right, yeah, absolutely, right. So here it's, what is it? It's magnetic. I remember the ditty from Pilot Training is my house plus our mirror equals my mirror. So the magnetic head of the airplane, which is 090, plus the relative bearing, in this case, is minus 8. Equals the magnetic bearing, which is 0.2. Right, so we should steer 0.2 to get to the station. Then. Alright, so we're going to decrease the climb rate just a little bit here. That's what we do. Got a couple more inches there. There we go. We're going about 110 knots. We're at 100 right now, but you can actually see our oil temps have crept up closer to the red line because there's no airflow. We'll try and speed up a little bit. The engine's low. Coming up on 10,500 feet now. 1,000 to go. Gus, that's right. We should be tuning the Morse code actually identifier. We'll see if we can do that once we get up that one cruise here. I guess I can just cheat between our map too. Point in the right direction. Oh yeah, look at this. Tell them for yes, but Yeah, hey, look at that. Right, right. This is where we go. Ellenburg, Seattle. Look at us. Like real airline pilots, man. Power. It's 11,000. So 11,500. So now what we're going to do is a technique I've heard from school for airline pilots. I don't know if this was an official procedure or, it's just one dude that Mark talking, but he said that they would go up to about 200 feet above their plane at cruise altitude. So in this case, 11,700, and then dive back down to cruise altitude and kind of make the airplane what we call one step. So, shot is 600, 11.6. We'll start decreasing the climb rate. Okay, so now we'll start, there's 11.7. So now we'll push these down, we go here. And then we'll dive back down to 11,500. And he said that basically that reduced the angle of attack and made the airplane cruise much more efficient. So, I'm not sure, but we'll see. Okay, so we're starting to descend down. Speed's creeping up, so now we can set our cruise power at 30 inches of wind. Power comes way back. Should settle out. All right. Ooh, I made it, chat. All right, we're in cruise. Verify everything. The eyes. Just about to spend some and radios. Hydraulic pressure for the next one before those, the power flags now. Heart tension, good. Cylinder head tension, good. Oil tension went down. Good, 160 knots. Good, chat. Alright, now I can actually pay attention to the chat. Let's see. PTSD, commercial pilot is from ride. NAB approaches on real IMC with crosswind. Dude, that sounds terrible. This. Oh, now that we're in cruise, I'd like to report that my flight is too low. Are you messing with me? Mike is too low. Like that. There we go. How's that? Check, check. Thanks for waiting to a non-critical phase of flight. Mount Rainier off in the distance. Still descending over those. Pop up the load nose up. I mean, look at this view out this wing. This is something straight out of like Indiana Jones or something. That's as high as the mic goes, man. That's the mic is up to my lips. The headset mic is all the way, so that's what I can give you. What I can do is I can bump the sim sounds down, and then you can turn your stream volume up, and hopefully that does the trick. Let me know if that's any better. All right. Yeah. So what this has basically taught me is that I was not good enough to be an airline pilot back in the day. Let's let's see, I think we need to come just a little bit to the left. So we'll do that. Perfect. Yeah, it's the perfect balance of like I'd like to keep the sim sounds up just because they're really good in the Duckworks, but at the same time I don't want to blast y'all's ears, so we'll turn them up again for landing. But like, look at the detail on this model, right? You got the Pratt & Whitney logo. I guess it's a little low res when you zoom in on it, but for normal zoom, it's pretty good. I tell you what, I would not like to go down in this part of the country. All right, we'll take a look at our fuel. It's looking like 170 gallons in the both main tanks, so that's looking good. We're burning 90 an hour, and we have about an hour and a half of flying left to do, so we've got plenty of gas. So there's 11.5, so we can tweak our pitch attitude a little bit. And now it's just the task of navigating. So our next, once we get to Ellensburg, our next fix is Yakima. That's 116.0. So we can go 116.0. You can punch that in. I don't know if I can turn the volume up on these nav radios. Yeah, the volume ID button just looks like a click button. It doesn't look like I can turn it up. But I might be able to select it. Definitely want marker beacon audio up. We'll see. I might not be able to identify the frequency, but 116.0 is the next one. I also, so my only gripe with the Duckworks is it doesn't come with a manual, so I don't know which of these nav instruments is driven off of which radio. So I believe this is COM 1, or sorry, nav 1. Okay, so what is this telling me here? This is saying the station is, like, this is basically pointing right to the station. So if we fly about 010, that should take us to Ellensburg. So I basically want to keep this needle on the nose. And I see what you're saying, Gus. So, oh, wait a minute, hang on. Yeah, okay, all right, I see what you're saying now. So if I keep this at 12 o'clock, the relative bearing between these two. Nope, Gus, I don't see what you're talking about. I think I need to keep the aircraft heading on the index, and then the pointer will point to the station, right? Because like right now the airplane's doing 110, about like that. Yeah, I'm getting radio. I see the DF is split, so. All right, Gus is going to hold a lecture on radio navigation here. Okay, so put north in the index. It's easy. Okay, all right, I'm trusting you guys. Here we go. All right, instrument flying via Gus. Let's do it. North. All right, north is on the index. So now this is telling me basically what the station is 30 degrees left. So then I take my heading, which is 105 minus 30. Which would be 075 to the station. Is that what you're telling me? So let's verify with the VFR map before I go making some big honking turn here. So that would mean 075. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I'll buy that. So now we'll So then to do that, we'll spin this guy to 075, and that should center this guy up on the nose, yeah? So this is the view from a passenger whose airline pilot is lost. All right, there we go. What do you think, y'all? Should we hire Gus as a navigator for our Hawaii to San Francisco leg in the PMDG? Okay, yeah, look at that. The station pointer is right ahead of us. Okay, so this thing I get. Got it. This is our heading, 075, so that's looking good. This dude, I wonder if radio compass, maybe I wasn't receiving the station last time. So if I spin this to 075, does my CDI center up? No, it doesn't. Unless that's COM2. That might be COM2, so let's switch this. Okay, boys. Well, I have no idea how to shoot the ILS, so hopefully it stays VFR. Zoom in on the indicators. Okay. Absolutely not. All right, there we go. Diabetic Lad, why are you flying so far east going from Seattle to Portland? Just a quirky part of the old routings. So what I'm finding is the old airline routings were more like train schedules than modern day airline flights where you go direct to a point. So the Northwest ticket, or flight rather, from Seattle to Portland that I found had stops in Ellensburg, the Dalles, and Portland. So you got on the airplane in Seattle, and then if you wanted to go to Ellensburg, you got off in Ellensburg. If you wanted to get off in the Dalles, you got off in the Dalles, and if you wanted to go all the way through, you just stayed on the airplane all the way to Portland. And so it seems like there wasn't direct airline service necessarily. I mean, I think there was a Seattle to Portland flight, but this particular service, if you will, this flight number served Ellensburg, the Dalles, and Portland. But the ticket that I found online, the scan of the ticket showed Seattle to Portland, and then had the en route stops kind of in smaller font. So dip my heading a little bit. Turk, absolutely not. We don't want Gus as the navigator. Okay, now the weird thing, I think that's set your radio compass to the abeam of the station. What do you mean the abeam of the station? Okay, set the radio compass to 17. So 170. Oh, I see, and you're using the radio compass as deviation. I'm not sure that the radio compass is actually working, because the needle has stayed basically at the 3 o'clock position for the entire flight. But we do have the oh, wait a minute, is this COM1 and COM2? Hang on. We go like this. It's like that. Oh, okay, look at this. Okay, so this is COM1 and COM2. The green needle is COM2, and the white needle is COM1. So okay, all right, Gus, I got you. So keep north at the top, COM1, COM2. So when we get to Ellensburg, our next course to Yakima, I gotta cross out my nav log here, Yakima, which is 116.0, which is in COM2 now. Our course to Yakima should be 160. So when this thing gets all the way down to, let's see, so my heading is 080, so when this gets to 080 relative, we should start to turn to Yakima. We're doing it. 40 to the right. Wait, what? 40 to the right. No, I think we're going the right way. So this is so Yakima is 40 degrees to our right currently, and we need it 80 degrees to our right to stay on the airway. So we're 40 degrees away from where we need to be. We're doing it, boys. All right. I gotta say, I kind of wish we had done this in the Eastern Airlines airplane, because I think the Eastern Airlines livery just looks a little bit more juicy. But that's Lake. Is that Lake Chehalis? The crazy thing is when you fly out of Seattle in a jet, you see this like 5 minutes after departure, and we're well into the cruise phase. But you know, for free 99, this is pretty good. We're nabbing. Yeah, suck it, Airbus dorks. This is way more fun. I mean, it does kind of highlight exactly how far we've come, right? Because I mean, this was 1937 the airplane came out, but if you look at some of the historical stuff, right? I mean, they were flying DC-3s and scheduled airline services up to 1952, 53, you know? And so you had your guys flying DC-3s when the 707 came out. So the overlap in technology between this thing and you know, a 707 is insane. Can you imagine that? Like you bought a ticket from Seattle to Portland, and you're, you know, going over the mountain and through the woods to Ellensburg, Yakima, the Dalles, finally to Portland. It takes you an entire day to get there. You're deaf when you get there because this Pratt & Whitney 1830 has been screaming in your ear for the last, you know, 10 hours. You may pop an engine on your way there, and then your next leg from Portland is Portland to Washington, D.C. on a jet. Like, what a time to be alive. Full Flap is 146 years old mentally. I may be an old soul, man. I'll confess to that. Okay, not that I don't trust myself, but let's just, you know, give ourselves a little look here on the VFR map. Make sure we're going the right way. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go to Ellensburg, which actually, yep, I see my head will fall, so we need to turn right a little bit. About 10 degrees. Okay, and then Yakima is our next fix, this VOR. And so, let's see, my heading to Yakima is going to be 160. And I've got the airplane steering 100. So the difference between those is 60. So when the RMI here gets to 60, we need to turn south to Yakima. We had a radio guide for the region in the main AM radios. You would be plotting where you were and where you wanted to go because GPS was shady. Oh yeah, I mean, GPS being reliable is still a fairly modern thing. I mean, I remember when airplanes didn't have GPS. I learned to fly without GPS. You know, I mean, I guess like super rich people had them, but you know, the Cessna 172 I flew had, I mean, it didn't have this stuff. It had a CDI at least where you could spin this course here, but you know, still. Okay, wait a minute. So now it says I'm 10 degrees to the right of where I want to be. Is that true? I don't know if that jives with the map. Do I agree with that? Something sus is going on there. But we'll keep on this heading. And then when our relative bearing to Yakima gets to 060, plus the 100 that we're on, so 160, then we'll start comparing to heading 160. Stephen Hayner, we went from the Wright Flyer to landing peeps on the moon in a person's lifetime. It's nuts. Yeah, 66 years between we don't know how to fly through the air to let's send the Saturn V to the moon. That's insane. We used to point the weather radar to the ground to map the rivers if we had anyone to map. Wow. See, isn't that crazy? Like, I feel like, you know, today's generation of pilot, because I mean, the group here, like all of us, right, we're kind of students of aviation. It's interesting to us, right? But your typical airline pilot, like Joe Q average that just goes to, you know, career track and gets his ATP and jumps into the right seat of an Embraer and then the right seat of a 737 or an A320. Like, this is, yeah, they've got no idea about this. I mean, because like I said, I'm an enthusiast of history, and I had no idea, you know, about this. And now, here's the other thing, chat. This is a beautiful day to go flying, right? It's VFR. We can look down and see the ground. The weather is nice. Not worried about icing up. No turbulence. I mean, if the weather got bad, these dudes were working their butts off. Yeah, old Air Canada A320s don't have GPS. Yeah, so, I mean, the F-16s I flew didn't have GPS either. They were INS only, and you had to verify the INS drift at the end of the flight, you know, and sometimes it would be upwards of 3 miles. There is a market for good old inertial nav. The Navy recently restarted navigating by sextant training because I didn't know that they stopped. Because I definitely learned, I mean, this is going back, but I definitely learned celestial nav in the Navy. Now, never used it, but we definitely took a course on it. You know, just like a survey course, and the Navy was maintaining the almanacs and everything to do it. So it wouldn't surprise me if they kind of put more of an emphasis on that. Okay, yeah. So these are getting closer. This makes sense. We're basically getting so close to the station now that these pointers are getting, or this pointer rather, is getting a little too sensitive. So Ellensburg should be off the left about, let's see, 30 degrees or so. So out this way. But I think 158 was actually the course I was looking at. So we zoom in on this guy. So this is 0. So that's east. So that's 080. Okay, so here we have station passage. So we're going to turn to 058 now, or 158 rather. So let's spin this to 158. So there's 150. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. Got that. Okay. So we are headed to Yakima. And now we would take a look at our gas. So we have about 160 gallons in each tank, so that's plenty of fuel. And now this turn should put Yakima pretty much on the nose. And it may have overturned a little bit. Come back to about 155-ish. And then Ellensburg's on the tail, which that checks. So actually right now, since we're on the airway, I'm going to leave Ellensburg in the back radio. Just this will verify that we're on the radio. So we can come left. No, left. About 10 degrees. Maybe 5 degrees. This is fun, man. I can see having a DC-3 and just burn the shitload of gas this way. This is a blast. Okay. Turk, your Frontier Captain Buddy could care less about airplanes. I believe it, man. I don't know if it's a generational thing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know the average age of like all the people in chat right now, but you know, I feel like not to sound like a crotchety old bastard, but I feel like the young kids today don't have an appreciation for this kind of stuff, right? And part of it could be because you don't get to touch it. You don't get to, you know, I mean, like how many pilots who grow up today will ever interact with a DC-3, right? Like unless you actively seek it out, it's just not something that you're ever gonna interact with. Whereas when I was a kid, they were at every air show, and you know, I've got friends who fly DC-3s. Hopefully, he doesn't watch this stream and watch me butcher his baby, but. Gus, sexting is not hard, but on aircraft it's more challenging to first identify objects in the night sky. Well, I tell you what, if I lose the landing challenge to V1, I'm kind of looking forward to doing a celestial nav stream in the PMDG. I think that would actually be a lot of fun. Let's center that up on 150 and see what that gives us. Okay, so I think that, okay, this is just an ILS. That's all this is. These needles are parked right now. So this, disregard, that's only for an ILS. This is where we need to live. So this is our heading, 150. This is the RMI, which Gus has taught us how to use. And the radio compass, I'm not entirely sure what this instrument's telling us, or even if it's operative, to be fair with you. So if I had my druthers, I'd just slap a big in-op sticker over the radio compass and use the ADF. Is this an ADF? I feel like we're navigating basically via ADF, even though we're using VORs. I guess this would be the ADF. Oh, that's what that is. This is the ADF. It's the radio compass, whereas this is VORs. Yeah, that's what it is. So if I tune the ADF, this guy right here, which I don't have any ADF frequencies, but this guy would be on the ADF. Okay, we're doing it. Turk, some people don't care, have the interest we have. So I get that, and I understand that every person has different interests, but what's surprising me is that certain people's interest in aviation stops at one type of aviation, right? So, like you could be interested in airliners, like an A320, and have no interest in something like this, you know, a DC-3, whereas all of it's interesting to me, but, you know, that's why we're all flying a flight simulator on our home computers, so. Oh, now we're getting fancy, Gus. Now we can better know the wind. 160 from now. We wait 6 minutes to check the course. You would travel 1/10 of your ground speed. See how much. Okay. Zoom in on the RMI. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. You're right, Gus. So I think the radio compass. I'm doing a V1 here. I was elected to lead, not to read, but I think this is the ADF. This is the magnetic, like this is the direction the airplane's pointed. We're going 150 right now, which jives with the course I've got spun into the gyro pilot. And then this is the VOR, the Omni range. Oh, is this fixed or? Yeah, okay, so I can just lock it in fixed mode, I think. Oh, no, I can't. It would just let me draw a bunch of different. Okay, not sure what's going on there, but okay, so we need to go slightly to the left. Okay, and this is actually a short leg, so I need to dial in our next point, which is at the Dalles, which is 112.3. Okay, so we'll go 112.3. Swap that over. And then the second bearing pointer, wait a minute. Hang on. Oh yeah, I backwards here, so I want 116 nothing there, and then 112.3 there. There we go. All right, so now the white needle COM1 or nav1 is pointed at Yakima, which checks. Tell you what, this suddenly all those incidents where an airliner flew into a mountain are fairly easy to understand how it happened. Okay, so this is pointed to Yakima, which is right off the nose, and then this is pointed to LTJ, which I believe is the Dalles. So check that. We'll just do it on the VFR map. Alright, so let's pop in the VFR map. So just verify our work here. Yes, there's Yakima, and then the Dalles, LTJ. Yep, that is the Dalles. So the course that we need to the Dalles is, let's see, Ellensburg to Yakima is 158. Yakima to the Dalles is 187. So if we steady up on 150, that's 37 degrees to the right. So once this pointer gets to about 37 degrees, we'll start our turn to the Dalles. And actually we can kind of, it's showing that we basically flew too far to the left of our course. Heads will fall. So actually what we can do is once these both line up, we can just turn and put that on the nose. Yeah, yep, Gus, I got it. Got to turn 25 because you basically double the correction, right? To get back on the course. I'm just trying to line up. I figure if we can just line up the Dalles and Yakima, and then we can overfly it. Okay, so about there. So now we'll turn 25 degrees about there, and that should bring us right over the station. The lack of DME is actually more challenging than I thought it would be, because I practiced this in the modern avionics upgrade, and then decided hell with it. We'll do it in the old school airplane. Okay, so at Yakima we'll check our gas again. Again, we have 160 gallons on board, so that's good. Oil temps, pressures are all looking good. Fuel pressure is good. Cylinder head temps are good. Carb temps are good. Looking good. Okay, so what's this equal math? You would travel 1/10 of your ground speed to the wind. Gus, I feel like I need a master's degree to follow your math here. 30 degrees split in 3 minutes. So 15 degrees an hour. Yeah, I'm gonna have to wrap my head around that for a little bit. Okay, so we've got station passage here. So this is Yakima in the COM 1 needle, which that checks 116.0. So Yakima's passing off the right because I'm a bad pilot. Which is probably below that cloud. And then the Dalles is basically right off the nose. We can go left a little bit. So we'll try about 0.75. You know, when I was in the Navy, the T-34 guys did navigation like this, and they had all kinds of mantras like heads will fall, tails will rise, basically saying that if you keep going here, this tail will move over here. So in order to correct this, you had to put the head on the other side of the airplane. All right, 165, you're monitoring the clock, okay. So you want me to go to a 165 heading? Stephen Hayner, I feel like you need a calculator to just do some trig to get where you're going. Yeah, man, and think about it. These guys were doing it, right? These guys were I mean, this is what they did for a living, right? Okay, Gus, we're on a 165 heading. You tell me when to turn. You know, this was being an airline pilot back in the day. Okay, so staying ahead of this here, Yakima, done with that. Yakima's dead to us. Columbia, 1092 is the next frequency. So, how do I want to do this? I want to keep the radios the same, so we're going to go 112.3. That's the Dalles. All right, so both pointers match up, and then Columbia is 109.2. Switch that in. That'll be 2, and that looks like it's parked right now. But once that comes alive, we need a 243 heading to Columbia. Yeah, this kind of makes you, want to, when some old dude says, yeah, I flew DC-3s at the beginning of my airline career, it's like, dude, buy that guy a beer. Okay, I'm not planning on using the ILS into Portland, but let's bring it up just in case. How do I do this? Nope, not ATC. Navigraph, I guess. So we can go airports, KPDX. Selected, charts, approach. Coming in from the east, so we would want runway 28. So we can, I think the FBO is off of 28 right. So we'll do the ILS from 28 right. There we go. We'll just have that queued up. Zoom in the RMI so I can map the shit. Alright, there we go. Zippy, I'm definitely watching this stream for a start tutorial on this bird. Okay, so what you need to do is get the Duckworks mod, and then go to Captain Canada's Discord and download his 2 free mods. He has a engine start mod, which the Duckworks is pretty good. The only thing the Duckworks doesn't do is allow you to start the engine with the mixtures at idle cutoff. So Captain Canada has modified the airplane so that you can start it with the mixtures at idle cutoff, because the way that you start the fuel injected radials, and even a fuel injected flat engine like a Cessna 172 SP, is you prime the engine, you start the engine, it fires on the prime charge, and then when it's running on the prime, then you bring the mixture in to avoid flooding the engine. So Captain Canada's made a mod to allow you to do that in the heading 210. Okay, Gus, we're coming to 210. 210? Really? That seems... Really? Okay. So yeah, get the Captain Canada start mod, and then the castering tailwheel mod, because the castering tailwheel mod makes it it makes it interesting to taxi, which is good, but the bigger thing is that it really punishes you on landing if you don't lock the tailwheel. So, Gus, I feel like you're getting us lost here. No, Zippy, this is default sounds. Yeah, these sounds are default, which is I don't consider myself a sound nerd, but these sounds made me fall in love with the airplane. Okay, so now the station is, so if I want to be on a 187, right, so basically 290. Gus, you're getting us lost, dude. You're getting us lost. Don't make me pull up the VFR map. What was that joke in World War II? A B-29 pilot pulled out his .38 revolver and looked at the nav and said, "I use this for navs who get me off course." And then the nav pulled out his .45, set it on the nav table, and said, "I'll know we're lost before you do." I feel like that's what Gus is doing to me right now. Yeah, yeah, we got big mountains out here, Gus. There's big rocks out there. I think that we got to fly by Mount Hood. So if Slustavo gets us to the Dalles, then we're going to descend down and we're going to fly the Columbia River Gorge VFR. All right, Gus, don't look at the map. I'm pulling this heading 180. Oh God! All right, here we go. 180. I love the all caps in the chat box. Jim Lee, welcome in. Yeah, it's a totally freeware airplane. So the DC-3 is default, and then the Duckworks team modified it for accurate engine start, as well as some navigation stuff, I believe. And then Captain Canada put a cast-ring tail wheel on it and fixed the mixtures. So this is completely free. From what I hear, it works in 2024. So you can do what we're doing now. For free 99, and it's a lot of fun. Hey, look at that! Gus actually got us on the thing. Oh, wait, so now we're doing 180. Oh, do you have a wind correction in there too? Do you have like a 7-degree wind correction in? Look, holy crap! Look at that, chat. Look at this. Gus has got us headed right to the Dalles with a wind correction angle. All right, Gus, free membership on me. When the channel eventually starts giving memberships, you've got the first one on me. That's pretty impressive, my man. Okay, so just so I'm clear, it's the default DC-3, yes. With the enhanced DLC from Market, no enhanced DLC from Marketplace. Just the default DC-3, Duckworks mod, and let me look up the guy's Discord. But yes, the Captain Canada. His username on Discord is Canadian Captain Mustache, so it may be a different guy. But when we're done with this stream, I'll post a link to his Discord in our Discord, and you can go download his mods. Because the mixture mod and more the cast-ring tailwheel mod really help make this airplane a lot of fun to fly. So default DC-3, Duckworks mod from FlightSim.to, and then engine start mod and cast-ring tailwheel mod from Canadian Captain Mustache's Discord. So 4 mods total, plus whatever repaints you want. And the other nice thing is there's 2 different variants that come with the install. So this, which is, circa 1937, or there's a mod that replaces this with a GPS 530, a GPS 430, and a modern autopilot. Yeah, Zippy, I would highly recommend this. I mean, I'm a tube-liner guy. I love the 737 and the A320, but this is a hoot, man. Okay, we're now on course 160 to our destination. We need a 20-degree correction due to the wind. My man, this is color me impressed. I would trust Gus's nav into the mountains. I'm glad it's VFR and we don't have to, but I would. All right, I think that's Mount. That's St. Helens or Hood? I can't quite tell because my sim is looking like a potato right now. Gus, what is our current temperature and altimeter? Let's see. Altimeter is 2992, so it's standard. And for temperature, probably gonna have to cheat. I don't know where there's a. There's got to be a thermometer in here, right? All right, we're gonna get you the actual answer here. It is 2992, and the temperature is standard. Zippy, you want to do some teaching streams with me on Shared Cockpit? Yeah, I'd be down for that, man. I need to get some seat time. As of yesterday, I officially joined the Cali crew for the Warfly. Ooh, that's cool. That is really cool. Yeah, I'd be down to do that, man. We just have to figure out a time that works with the time zone stuff. But yeah, I'd be happy to jump on. Okay, so it looks like the other needle is still parked here to LTJ 12.3. Oh, yeah, 12.3. So 12.3 is the Dallas, and 1092 is Columbia, and Columbia is still parked. So true airspeed is 180 knots, which depth's bang on. That's about what I would expect out of a DC-3 at cruise power. I guarantee you that Gus has his whiz wheel out right now. So there's a really cool airport, Jernstead Field. Yeah, so 4S2. There's a museum here. I haven't been to it, but I've heard about it. The Western Automobile and Aviation Museum. That has just an incredible amount of classic cars, one-off old classic airplanes. They've got like the prototype Stearman, named after Ken Jernstead, who was a Flying Tiger during World War II. So, pretty cool dude. Okay, so our plan, as Gus navs us to the Dalles here, LTJ VOR right there, is once we hit LTJ, we're going to turn to the west, and we're going to descend, and we're going to fly the Columbia River VFR into Portland. So that way we'll get a fair amount of radio nav, which I think we've pretty much done, and then let's see, full flap is our ground speed 124 knots. How do I check that? I obviously don't have a ground speed readout in the airplane. Check the GPS. I don't have a GPS. I just have the map. But can't. Actually, well, let's give me. No. Yeah, I have no GPS. Don't think. Open the map with GPS. Okay. Map is open. Yeah, it says GPS tracking, but when I turn that on, it just basically snaps to our airplane. Check the weather again. Being real demanding here, Gus. There's weather. There you go. Oh, are you looking for the wind? Let's see, we're at 11.5. Oh, you're good. Did you get it right? Looks like 270 at oh, there we go. This is saying winds are calm, but they're definitely not. It's saying 270 at 2. Oh, that's on the ground. Up at altitude. don't know how to check in here. Gus, you're exceeding my abilities as a flight simmer to tell you what the environmentals are. This is cool though. So, truth be told, this is kind of a rush stream because I have to go to work later this afternoon, so I didn't get to put as much prep into this as I wanted to. But the real nerd in me wants to bust out, like, go buy a paper sectional and my plotter and E6B that are sitting in the closet here, and actually plot an E6B course with the winds. You know, do all this and then take off and do the radio nav. I mean, that would jive, Gus, because even though it said it's calm, I can definitely see the airplanes kind of flying in a crab. And you nailed the wind correction, so I'm inclined to believe your calculation over any you know, whatever the sim settings are. All right, so there's the Columbia River, right up there. So I hate to cut your radio nav short there, Gus, but we'll take a look at the map and QA your work, and I would say that you've got us. You've got us pretty damn spot on going to the Dalles. So at this point, we'll just cut the corner here and pick up the Columbia River, head through the Columbia River Gorge. So we'll try about 220, see where that gets us started. Zippy, that's how he gets you. One piece of great advice, and suddenly your head's in the overhead panel and there's a mountain rapidly approaching. So true, isn't it? Well, I tell you what, chat. So this passenger started out the flight feeling pretty nervous, as they probably should have. But I think we're doing pretty well, minus the fact that we totally skipped the Ellensburg and Yakima stops that were on the ticket. We're going straight to Portland. So hope they wanted to go all the way to Portland, but they're getting a scenic ride, that's for sure. Fun trivia about the DC-3 is the wing designer was the same as the T6 Texan. So if you look at a top-down view of a DC-3 as well as a T6, it's the same wing. It's just been scaled up, well, scaled down rather, for the T6. So if you chop the wingtips off of the DC-3 wing, you've got a T6 wing with this straight center section that contains the fuel, swept outer panels with straight trailing edges that are joined to the main wing box with flanges and bolts underneath this fairing. So there you go. As well as a 3-segment split flap that continues underneath the fuselage. This is all the same as the T6 because the designer was the same. So fun piece of information on with regard to the DC-3. So my buddy who went to Navy test pilot school flew a DC-3, and then when I learned to fly the T6, I received the same advice. When we're going through our private pilot, everybody is told that in a crosswind landing you have to keep aileron into the wind, and that's true. But it's often described today as using the aileron to keep the wing from rising up, right? The way it was explained to me was that the bigger issue in these older airplanes was that putting aileron into the wind had more to do with the adverse yaw of these massive ailerons this far out on the wing, assisting the rudder in directional control. So if you imagine, due to the thick camber of the wing, with the airplane in a 3-point attitude, about there, if you put a large, in this case, left aileron input in, the left aileron goes up, but it's pretty much blanked by the wing. But the right aileron comes down, it generates a bunch of drag. And it's really far out on the wingtip here, right? And these ailerons are not designed like modern ailerons and avoid adverse yaw. So, so when you're landing in a crosswind, basically by touching down and then dumping this aileron into the wind, you're assisting the rudder in providing directional control, which is important in the tailwheel airplanes, because as the airplane goes down into the 3-point attitude, the wash off of the wing blanks out a lot of the rudder. So in the transition where the tailwheel, the locking tailwheel, is not on the ground yet, and the rudder is being blanked by the wing, the adverse yaw from the ailerons actually provides a lot of your yaw control. And so, as it was explained to me, that is the reason behind why it is hammered into us early in pilot training to always put aileron into the crosswind. So, and it's very apparent if you forget to do that in an older airplane. Now the obvious caveat of keeping the wings level also applies, but apparently the DC-3, my buddy at Test Pilot School did this. They kept the rudder neutral and went down the runway simply using the ailerons, full left and full right deflection, and he said it was very noticeable how you can see the aircraft yaw on the ground due to adverse yaw from the ailerons. So. Zippy, I agree, man. This repaint is pretty good. I think the best one is the Eastern Airlines scheme that is all chrome with the blue cheat line. And we'll fly that on another stream. Content analytics be damned. I'm enjoying the hell out of this, so we'll probably do another DC-3 stream sometime in the future. But all right, let's get down and do some VFR flying. So we can. Oh, that's cool. Is that Rainier in the distance? Yeah, I think that's Rainier, and then at some point we're going to fly by Mount Hood. I think that's Hood. Not sure about my Pacific Northwest mountains, but anyway, we'll start a descent, try and pick up the Columbia River right about here, and then fly through the Columbia River Gorge at low altitude. So we'll keep the power set at cruise, so 30 inches and 2,000 RPM will work. Bump up the left engine a little bit because Pratt's working a little bit harder than Whitney today. And we can start a slow descent. Stephen Hayner, I agree, man. I've never seen a livery from the 40s or 50s I didn't like. Totally true. Even like like Delta's livery from the 40s and 50s. I'm not the biggest fan, but it still looks good, man. Mount Rainier, according to V1 Geography, is the big brother of Mount Rainier. I'm so triggered every time he says that. Let's pull up the ILS. So as we descend, it's going to be a visual backed up by the ILS, just so I can kind of exercise how the system works. I'm not going to shoot an entire ILS approach. Where is Navigraph? There it is. So we'll set the nav frequency to charts approach. You said 28 right, yeah. So 111.3 and 283. So we'll go 111.3. Okay, 111.3, and it'll be 283 on the course. We need to start descending faster. A little bit more down on the elevator trim wheel there. Yeah, I'm convinced that that it's clickbait at this point. Well, I think it started as clickbait, now it's just a part of his vernacular. Alright, so I see the Columbia River up here. We'll descend down and fly up at VFR. The Dalles is pretty cool. There's a big hydroelectric dam complex down here. And then, let's see, where's Jernstead Field? See that on the map? May have flown past it already. Oh no, it's right out here. They also have a big warbird fly-in there in the fall around September time frames. This is cool. Did somebody say the Duckworks mod works 100% in 2024? Because if it does, I will consider picking up 2024 to do this kind of flying in the new sim. Because I do think that 2024, from what I've heard, has better, it's better for VFR type stuff. So if this works in 2024, this may be the airplane that gets me into that sim. Okay, I'm kind of looking for a 500 foot per minute rate of descent, so I'm going to keep dialing the gyro pilot down a little bit, and also we got to pull the power slowly back, because remember, as we descend, especially in high blower, we're going to gain about an inch of manifold pressure every 1,000 feet. As we descend, we don't want to overboost the engines. Virtual flight diaries. It does. You're using it right now. Okay. All right. Oh man, I'm trying to hold strong. I've also got a potato of a system. I'm on an i9 9900K system, and I don't know how well it'll handle the new sim. Yeah, my internet data plan is not great. It's inconsistent, put it that way. Sometimes it's great, and other times, you guys saw Seattle as we took off out of there. Seattle usually looks better, but for some reason today with the streaming, my scenery looked like crap. So if that's how the entire sim is going to be, don't really want to do that. And this looks incredible, right? I mean, you can pick out individual landmarks. Like there's Hood River, there's Ken Jernstead Field. Matter of fact, the museum is right there, so you can see it, right? You can pick it out. I mean, 2024 may be better, quote unquote, but I think 2020 is pretty good. I mean, new is not always better, and I'm kind of at the point with 2020 where this sim does everything that I really want a sim to do. Eventually I will probably move to 2024, but I'm pretty happy with 2020. I used to have the Midwest Air Museum's DC-3 back in Flight Sim 2002, and it was probably a little higher fidelity than this with some of the engine stuff, but man, I tell you what, this is a pretty good experience. Even with some things, like there are certain things about the engines that are not quite right. Like I think the carb air runs a little bit cold, hence the fact that we've had carb heat on the whole flight, and I don't know how in-depth it's modeled as far as, if you didn't adhere to the power settings for the engines, if you'd blow one up. I don't know if that's the case, but just for casual simming, in a period correct airplane that feels right and has great sounds and makes you feel like, like you actually accomplished something at the end of a flight, I think this is great. Okay, can we talk about a human factor sync for a second? The most important navigation instrument that you need to find where you're going is completely hidden behind the yoke. And I just realized that. So you'd spend the entire flight, craning your head around to try and look at your nav instruments. That's crazy. AJ, I'm trying to hold strong, man. I'm really trying. B1 texts me like every other day going, hey, you getting 2024? Right, so we're descending down into the Columbia River Gorge here. And from what I hear, this is not altogether unrealistic. I've got a buddy who flew DC-3s when he first joined the airlines. He retired as a U.S. Air 767 captain. He said that, you know, flying VFR up the Hudson was kind of standard practice. So. Okay, so we'll keep slowly bringing the power back. So now I don't know if shock cooling is a thing in you know, in flat engines like Cessna 172s and my RV-8 and the like, but it absolutely is a thing in these old radials, and so you have to be very careful when you're pulling the power back not to just slam the throttles closed. The other thing is you may be familiar with it, is there's a gearbox, so the prop is actually run at a, I don't know the gear ratio, but there's a gearbox in here. The engine is turning significantly faster than the propeller. And so, we're going to turn left here to keep going up the river. And so it's very critical that you keep load on the engine, because if you allow the propellers to overdrive the engine, in other words, you pull the throttles back enough that the engines are trying to slow the propellers down, you effectively, all the lash in that gearbox between the engine and the props gets taken up, beats up the gearbox, and you end up having to overhaul an engine because of damage to the gearbox. So it's very important to keep the manifold pressure up. And so as you'll see on approach, we're going to be very careful with going no lower than 20 inches of manifold pressure as we come into land. So, which makes this kind of a challenge, because you can't just close the throttles out if you're high, right? So you have to kind of plan your descent, which is one reason we're getting down early. Plan your descent, configure, use drag, because you can't just pull the throttle to idle and descend like you can in some of the more modern engines, jets especially. AJ, yeah, stop drinking the Kool-Aid. I am on FO pay. Although we'll see, man. I'm tossing around the idea of upgrade. Yeah, the right engine's running about an inch of manifold pressure more than the left. Yeah, Pratt's always loved its gearboxes. That's a true story. And again, I've never flown an airplane with the Pratt & Whitney 1830, but I've flown a T-28 that had the right 1820, and it was critical that you adhered to the correct power settings for that engine. You know, because they're expensive. Although what's really impressive is, you know, some of the old airliners, military airplanes that had these, the engines are fitted in what they call the QEC, a quick engine change, that basically you pull out 4 bolts, unbolt disconnect the fuel and oil lines from the engine, and the whole cowl and engine assembly comes off as a unit. You just bolt a new one on. So they can actually do fairly quick engine changes in these things. Okay, so we're getting the cylinders are cool, but they're still in a good range. Oil temps are all looking good. Carbs are good, so we're good. We've got enough power on that we're not shock cooling anything. Keeping it down to cruise power, and we'll just go down to, I don't know, 2,000 feet. I think Portland's pretty much at sea level, so we'll do about 2,000 feet on the land. Rebuilding the gearbox in my Subaru was expensive. God knows how expensive a Pratt would be. So I can tell you a Pratt & Whitney 1340 rebuild is about 65 grand, plus mounting it on the airplane. So yeah, not something that you want to beat up if you can help it. Descending through 5,000. Again, keeping an eye on all the engine temps. It's all look good. Cylinders are getting a little cool, so we might ease the descent just a little bit. There's a waterfall here. Oh, there it is, right there. I've flown by this waterfall in a Cub on a layover, and it was quite awesome. Okay, I'm slowly going to start working the power back to the in-range setting, which is 25 inches at 2,000 RPM, or 23 inches at 2,000 RPM. And then the lowest we can go on approach is going to be 20 inches. But we need to start slowing down, so actually we can start pulling the power back to 20 inches now. As we get down to the terminal area, we'll go ahead and turn the boost pumps on, left and right. And I see the airport, I believe, right off the nose. Take over manually here. We're going to shut the gyro pilot off. We're going to transition the hydraulic system back for landing. And then we'll swap the radios over to the ILS 283. I believe it's 283 goes on this to the ADF course. Though I don't really think we need to put it in. Alright, our ILS is alive, so our ILS needles are alive, we're slowing through at 60. Life is good. Alright, y'all, some sounds are coming up. Just enjoy the sounds of these Pratt & Whitney engines. Wet snow's falling faster than you can keep the shovel. Don't miss that. Okay, there's Troutdale Airport. Looks good, about 130 gallons a side. The mixtures are still in auto lead, which is fine because we're way back on the power. Let's see what our nervous passenger is. Just as a reminder, guys, the whole reason behind this this stream is to kind of thank you guys for subscribing to the channel, participating in the streams. So I really appreciate you joining in, spending your time with me. I know that life is busy, so every minute that you guys spend with me, I really appreciate. And this is the 100 subscriber stream, so we're now up to about 175. So if we can get up to 200, we'll bust out the PMG DC-3 and do something similar. The faster I can get to 500 subscribers, the faster we can do some kind of members only stuff, like you know, Aveo Premium Group flights specifically for members and things like that. So, but yeah, I appreciate the support, guys. It's truly humbling how many people are willing to take time out of their day to listen to me talk about airplanes. So, appreciate you. Look at that. Man, that's a view. Screenshot. Okay, 20 inches of manifold pressure, 2,000 RPM. Diabetic Lad, I'm saving that for a members only stream, man. So that'll be post 500 subscribers. Although I will whoop up on V1 whenever he wants to. All right, so we need to slow the gear speed. So this thing has no problem coming down once it's configured. So we'll slow down to 140. Here's the airport. So we're coming right. Pump the manifold pressure up. Don't want to get too low. And here comes the gear. Alright, landing gear is down. Okay. Boost pumps are on. Make sure you'll come to auto rich one time. There we go. Are auto rich and no slower than, or no less than 20 inches of manifold pressure. Looking good. Here comes flaps 1 1/4, 130 or less. And then at 120 we can put in flaps half. 120. Flaps half. Full landing flaps at 112 or less. They've modeled the hydraulic pumps down to the passenger view, which is pretty cool. Okay, and then on final, verify again, critical step, that the tail wheel is locked. Many a DC-3 has been wrecked because the tail wheel was unlocked on landing. Alright, there's full flap. Looking for about 95 knots on final. You can see the glide slope is pretty steep compared to a modern airliner. These big split flaps in the back. High as Snoop Dogg, yeah, Steven Hader. It's definitely higher than a 3-degree glide slope. So most of these old airliners, you know, if you cut the power, they come down. Definitely no shortage of drag on these old machines. So we're going to let the... You also don't want to go above about 30 inches of manifold pressure with the props back at 2,000. So it's really a fine line of power settings with these old radials. But all right, power's coming back. So across the threshold, we can push the props up to full increase. And you can hear they didn't actually move because they're off the governor. And now 95 over the threshold, we can slowly close out the throttles. Flare. There we go. 111 feet per minute. Oh boy. And did we lose rudder? Going off the... My rudders are not working. Oh no! Alright, cut the mixtures. We lost our rudder pedals. Oh! What a way to end the stream. Why are the rudders not working? Oh no! Chat, my rudders are not bound. Rip. Alright, let's see. Got to do some maintenance on the rudder pedals here. Ah! Chat. My rudder pedals came unplugged because the dog walked behind the computer. Well, get the Blanco Lirio. What did we say about crashing classic airplanes? Well, here we go. We've arrived. That really bums me out because that was such a fun flight. But we're here, so we'll go ahead and set the chocks, pop the doors open, and we will go ahead and pull the throttles to idle cutoff. They are off. We can, once the props stop, which they did, we can go mags off, pull the ignition off, fuel boost come off, generators can come off, and avionics can come off, lights, and battery. Battery is off, and the fuel selectors can come to off as well. Part of the taxi, the important steps for taxi will be to get the carb heats off. And that's it. Welcome to Portland. Oh man, big oof. But anyway, welcome back, or welcome to Portland International Airport. Once again, guys, appreciate you joining me for this stream. Next time I'll verify, I guess, that my rudder hardware is plugged in and working. But yeah, thanks a bunch. Forgot the flight recorder because I was having so much fun on the arrival. But yeah, I think that's it. So if you like this, go ahead and like, subscribe, share the channel so that other people can like and subscribe. We can get that subscriber count up, and we'll do more streams like this in between jet streams. So I'm off to work. Appreciate you joining me, guys. Take care. I'm full flap. I'll see you later.